Welcome to No Prize Podcast. I am the professor. That's Lucas. And Johnny is in mourning, so he is not here today. In mourning because of over the week we have lost a legend, John Romita Sr., passing away on June 13th at the age of 93. And hey, I mean, what can we say about John Romita Sr.? Huge loss. Uh, the I would say one of the largest voices from Spider-Man uh, in the first 50 years. Um, what can you say? Well, we knew this day was coming. He was not all that healthy, but I mean, 93, long run, good for him. Um, I would say John Romita Sr. with the brought what he brought to Spider-Man post Ditko. We want to see with Lee and Ditko. I think he took Spider-Man to the next level and made Spider-Man more accessible to I think just about everybody. Bringing in the romance and bringing in the iconic look. I would want to say probably the most iconic look for Spider-Man. What do
Yeah,
you think, Lucas?
yeah, you're absolutely right, man. So he was the man that took over for Ditko after Ditko left as the co-creator for Marvel under Stan Lee, and he tried to carry on that same legacy of Big Bam Boom for a little while, but eventually he just took over. And like you said, that emotional impact, those emotional stories where we got more of a what was the impact of Ben's passing? What was the
Yeah.
impact of the relationship in between him and Aunt May? What was the impact of him and Mary Jane Watson and Stan Guisi? We got more slower stories on what those impacts were, how he felt about and as far as I'm concerned, we're missing that to this day
Mhm.
right now, right?
Yeah.
Um, they try to throw that stuff in, but it just does not have the same impact. Um, and it's a shame, right? So it's one of those because I believe what I've heard is that his origins that he was writing romance stories, and then they brought him over is what I understood, which is why he was so good at it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
he was illustrating romance stories for DC, and
yeah.
then they brought him in, and he was doing the same thing for Atlas prior to Marvel becoming Marvel, and that was his strength was the romance side of the storytelling process, and I think you know there are the giants of Marvel, the Lee, the Ditko, the Kirby that gave you that larger than life superhero experience, but Romita was the missing link, right? But
Yeah.
Romita comes on and he brings in the romance story to make the kind of give you that drama, especially on Spider-Man. But I think that the effect that he had spread out to the rest of the line, but you can have the big, you know, 4 panel, beat 'em ups all day, but then to bring the humanity into it, especially on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um, was just next level. So and that affected, I think it affected comics as a whole,
Yeah.
and of course Marvel going forward, and
Yeah.
just
He
helped
yeah, he
progress.
even yeah, he even had a group called Readers, which is full of some of the writers that are still writing today. So he did, and he taught them how to draw and how to write in his style. So that definitely had an impact as far as spreading his influence on the stuff as well.
Hmm.
So it's amazing, and you can see it even in his son's work. For instance, John Romita
Yeah.
Jr. He just has the Amazing Spider-Man run right now, and you could see how it affected the story. I don't like how it is quite ending right now because they killed off Kamala Khan, which had no impact. I was more invested in what the hell was going on with Mary Jane. Why is she with some other dude right now? Had me angry in the streets, but it had me hooked. But
Sure.
they decided to end it a different way. But definitely his impact will be felt and surely missed.
Yeah. Well, to tell you the truth, I mean, it's kind of bittersweet having having this fall around Father's Day, and you can't mention John Romita Sr. without really mentioning John Romita Jr. So
Yeah.
a giant that created more giants.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I think we all owe a debt of thanks and gratitude for the passion that we have for comics. Wouldn't really be there as it wouldn't be as strong without John Romita. So, condolences to the family, and
Right.
let's talk about some other good stuff.
So across the Spider Verse, it came out what 3 weeks ago. Release date June
Yeah,
2nd. Um, it's currently grossing domestically 252, internationally 165 for to bring worldwide just under $500 million at 417. Did you were here? You were not here when we first started talking about this. Have you
no, I
seen it,
was
and what did
on
you think?
vacation.
What did
I
you
did
think?
see it. In fact, I liked it so much I went and saw it again.
Nice.
So yeah, I've seen it twice. I think it was great, and it was one of those things that I complain a lot about the multiverse and having 100 million different Spider-Man or Captain America's run around that dilute the brand. In the comics, I can't stand it. I can't stand how many Spider-Man characters there are. Here, it works so well on screen.
Right.
This reminds me of Deadpool. I can't stand the Deadpool character, but the movie worked very well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here, it's the same. It's the same experience here. Um, I love the Spider Gwen and Miles Morales. I love their interactions. The main characters. I love that Peter Parker's not the main character. He's like a super side character,
Yeah.
and then having the villain actually be kind of, well, the villain is kind of Spider Man 2099, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's
Supposed
kind
to
of the
be.
bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, this was a great. If you hadn't seen, have never seen Spider Man before, you kind of think this is the way it's supposed to work. Yeah, I don't think anybody really remembers anymore having them just be Peter Parker and not having a Ben Riley around or a
Mm,
Miles Morales around or Miguel around. This is a new era for Spider Man, and we used to say, it can be anybody under the mask, and that's why Spider-Man identifies with just about anybody,
right.
because
Right. Right.
once he puts the mask on, he's not Peter Parker anymore. He could be you, and here you get that even without the mask. Now it's anybody is Spider-Man, right? Right.
Right, right, yeah, 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 yeah.
So
So I know you were reading through the Marvel Voices Pride joint, and it's
uh,
too. I agreed. It's a very long read, but I do want to call out the one story. I forget who actually wrote it. But it's got the is it the Scarlet Spider? I think that's what he calls himself or something like that. He is in there as the representation for Web Spider Verse as the gay Spider Man or whatever.
yeah,
And
Web Weaver, right?
something like that. But you know what? It actually kind of works because it doesn't harp into victimhood of the LGBT community. It's just him doing his thing, while at the same time just trying to have a normal life. In the meantime, he's fighting on behalf of people that are not necessarily even part of his community, but he was fighting on behalf of the ownership of somebody else that for another community that may not even really like what he does or care for him even that much. So that was an interesting freaking story. So I would say that Marvel Pride Voices at least makes it to my toilet read right now. But that story was actually pretty interesting. If that's the way they're going to try to go, I didn't necessarily care for the Spider-Man or those other stories, but
Well, we'll
that one
give
was actually pretty good.
give credit to that particular story in the Marvel Voices. Catherine Locke doing the story, Joanna Estep, pencils and inks, Manuel Pupo on colors. So yeah, to be honest, and I don't want to take anything away from it. I didn't get to that story. I didn't get far enough into the book. I read the first couple of stories, and then first of all, I think 96 pages might be a little too much for anybody to get through in one sitting.
Mm.
Um, but the first couple of stories, it just really wasn't for me, and I just couldn't continue it. So, which is saying something, because I read almost everything for the pod. So, um, yeah, it
Yeah,
was
we
tough.
had we had 22 different books this week, right? Something like
Yep,
that.
yep.
It was not a strong. first story because you had Gwenpool, and now
Yeah.
she's asexual. I'm not tracking that,
Uh,
but now she's asexual, and apparently asexual is part of the. I guess it makes sense. LGBTQA plus.
yeah.
Okay,
No,
got it.
asexual is part of the whole thing. I, in, I mean, we've talked about this on. I'm pretty close to the gay community. I've had several people in my immediate family that are on the spectrum, but it's for me. Um, it just felt it felt really preachy to me, like they were talking at me, not to me. And I've always said, the stories, sexual orientation should not be the story. It could be part of the story, but that shouldn't be the focus.
Right.
So to me, I mean, I get it, um, and it is just, it's not for me. And I'm sure that there are other people out there that really enjoy the story and love it. But I
See,
said,
what these stories need is they need a John Romita Jr., a dude that was or a female or a non-man or a woman who is a previous romance story writer to come over and actually write these stories that actually have some actual depth and actually make some type of sense.
depth is one of the things that is missing. It is a very surface, you know, in some of these stories. I mean, it's 96 pages. Usually they in these pride books, it's like a 8 page or 10 page story. These are almost like
Hmm.
full size comic books.
Yeah.
So, and then to have like not a very very thin plot, or no plot. So it's a it's not readable on a lot of levels. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So yes, that was Across the Spider Verse and a little bit of other stuff. What do you, Spider Punk and Spider India. They were trying to kind of highlight those guys because definitely Spider Man India.
hmm.
That even had a book come out this week.
Yeah,
I didn't. I glanced at it, but I didn't really. Nobody was really. Look, Marvel brought these books out at the wrong time because there was other stuff going on in the comic book universe. Spider-Man India, nobody was really. Some people were feeling Spider-Man India, some people weren't. A lot of people were feeling Spider-Punk, some people weren't. What did you think of those two characters?
in the movie,
Yeah.
I thought the movie was great. I thought all the characters that they focused on, were fleshed out, and they spent enough time on in Marvel India. They actually went to that dimension. The Spider Punk character. The thing that catches me is the different visuals and animation styles of the different characters and how true they remain to that. So when they introduced Spider Punk and they had all that pop art going on him, and they continued that throughout. And I thought it was just so eye catching to me. And every time Spider Punk came on the screen, and bottom line is like, I don't know if I liked the character, but he was so visually eye catching. I enjoyed whenever he was on it, and I'm sure
Mm,
he has a bigger role in the next movie. So, and then as Spider-Man India, I liked the whole imagery of the world. Um, and it's not something that I don't think translates onto the comic book.
mm,
So when you see it on the screen versus holding the comic in your hand, I think that these characters were made for the big screen. Um,
yeah.
I did read the Spider-Man India book that came out this week, and it didn't
It
have the
didn't
same
translate.
effect on
Yeah.
me. It didn't have the same effect on me as the movie did. So yeah, I think when you're to be honest, when you're trying to get through 22 books to read for the
Yeah.
podcast, you want to
So
spend a lot of time on
yes. So that Spider-Man India book was written by Nikesh Shukla and penciled by Matsuni, inked by Hannah, colored by Menon. It's one of those tired things where, hey, you know what's Indian? Just Indian food, and then they go off into the freaking story without giving much more of any type of cultural impact of like, hey, who the hell is
it.
this
Yeah,
guy? First of all,
yeah,
why does India need a Spider-Man? Second of all, uh, I don't it and we'll go to the Black Panther, but I don't even feel like this is India. I feel like maybe this is like 35th block in the 35th 35th Street in freaking in the New York district. You know,
Well,
like this one corner. I didn't feel it. Like I don't
in
know.
the movie and across the Spider Verse, they went through great pains to tell you that this is Mumbaten. So
Yeah,
this is
move
it's
by Hatton.
Manhattan.
Yeah.
It's Manhattan, but it's an India universe, and it's not in India. It's in America, but it's Manhattan. It's an Indian version of Manhattan. They didn't do a good job at explaining that in Spider Man India. So, um, in fact, I don't even know if that's the location is the same. So to me. It didn't do a good job at explaining everything, but I think the movie did. And I think the movie explained as much as they had to for you to understand it and enjoy the movie. So that's what I kind of feel like they need to be maybe a little more expulatory in the comic book to make you more understand and maybe
Yeah.
even identify with the characters more, because I know that this. I mean, it's the Peter Parker origin story, just translated differently with an Uncle Bim instead of Uncle Ben, and you know,
Hmm.
it's the same thing, but I enjoyed it in the movie, but in the comic book, just it didn't hold up. So
Yeah.
what can I say?
And look, if you've read or excuse me, if you've watched enough freaking Indian movies like I have, you know that there's definitely something there that they could possibly translate over to the freaking comics. They just need to take their time. Let's let's introduce Indian the Spider-Man India to who he is, how he kind of fits in this world, and then let's get into the Doc Ocks and the freaking lizard guys and all the other stuff. I don't need a big bad villain yet.
Yeah.
I don't need all that. But
Well,
there
that's
it
what I
is.
liked about Across the Spider Verse, because there wasn't. I mean, you had an origami vulture at the beginning, but you didn't have like a big Spider-Man villain pulling the strings in the background.
Hmm.
It was just all Spider characters in
Right.
Spider-Man
There
2099 trying to.
so there was a villain and that was the Negative Spaceman, right? But the
Mm.
Negative Spaceman was a
Oh, the
very
Spot.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was a very crucial point. He was a very crucial villain because he the way he works is he kind of explains how the Spider Verse works, right? He
yeah,
explained, hey, that there's a multiverse, and then there's spaces in between those multiverses where if you get to that point, then you can jump to that space and that space and that space.
yeah,
But if you're doing too much and mess around with those multiverses, then you can collapse everything. So he was. That's the first time that usage of a villain is so important and so crucial.
yeah.
It's maybe I've forgotten, but it's I've never really seen somebody do that for. So I just can't hate on it, no matter how
Well,
other craziness went on.
the Spot is decidedly, I would say, a Z-list Spider-Man villain. So bringing him into Across the Spider Verse. When I saw that he was the villain at the beginning, I was like, the Spot, really, comic relief, and they really
Yeah,
used him for comic relief at the beginning of the movie,
yeah,
and then you saw throughout the movie uh, him gaining power, and then he become a real threat, and that was another thing that struck me in the movie was just the art style. The art style for each character was different, and each dimension they went to was really decidedly different. But the Spot had his own, and it was Bill Sienkiewicz. I was 100% Bill Sienkiewicz. I can guarantee it. Was he must have done this design for the Spot, especially when he
mm,
went from predominantly white and black to predominantly black with
black
the
and
white.
white. Yeah, yeah,
It was Bill Sienkiewicz all the way, and I loved it. So
yeah. What did you think of the quibble? So in the first movie we had um the Kingpin, right? He was messing up the Spider Verse because he was trying to bring his family over, and he didn't care whether he was destroying other multiverses or anything, but he was trying to bring his family over. And but in this one, the quibble is it's like, hey, this is the main thing. If you try to save your family, you're going to keep destroying these other universes. But now the choices was at the feet of Miles Morales.
right.
Did you kind of feel that at all, or was that kind of lost on you?
Yeah, no, it was they called it the canon events, right? So and you look at every Spider-Man that out there's always that Uncle Ben, right? And that was really the issue that they were talking about is the Uncle Ben or the Captain Stacy, and that there are these events that every Spider-Man goes through, and Miles realizes that his father is becoming a captain, and then
Mm.
he's gonna be the one that's killed, and the Spot is going after him. So um, the the pinging point on that, and I love the concept, and it gives you the purpose for the whole movie, but we've seen it. That's the thing that we've already seen Flashpoint. The Flash comes out this weekend, and
Yeah.
it's the same exact concept for the movie where he's going to change the entire timeline to save someone.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
not an original idea, but
Well, it's a little different because in this one there's the straight timeline, and then if you move the timeline, you move little things, butterfly effect, right? But in the Flash movie, Flashpoint, when you move something, you're not, and you try and go back, you can't go back to your own universe. You're actually switching over to another universe, which is what I've always said in regards to um the rings, the Thanos shit. Like when they went back in time, I was like, well, if you do that like that, you can't go back to your own time. You're actually switching back to another universe that just happens to be like yours, and that's what occurs in the Flashpoint movie, without spoilers, by
oh,
the way.
thanks, because I'm going to see that tomorrow. So,
It's good.
oh,
It's good,
that's
man.
I,
It's
I
it's
heard.
like it's like freak, man. Like they're ending on this kind of point, and they got the flashpoint. They set it up perfectly. It makes a lot like except for the Shazam movies. It makes all the other ones go like, oh, that's where they wanted to go with that. Okay, all
What if
right,
what if I didn't see Justice League? Do I need to see Justice League before I see Flash?
absolutely not. You do not
Okay,
need to see them.
good, good.
You're good.
Okay,
If you just kind of have a basic idea of what those characters are, you'll be straight.
yeah.
You don't need to see any of that stuff. Um, for the Easter eggs, you gotta have like a lot of World War II freaking lore. It's not because I was geeking out. I was like, oh my god, there's that. I was like, oh my god. Um, but it was damn good. I mean, it, it did have some of the technical issues that I saw in Across the Spider Verse, such as hey, let's do dialogue. Then they did another dialogue. Then they did another dialogue. So it was dialogue, 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 and there was no new information being put in that. And then in another scene, they were just trying to explain how the multiverse works, and they failed, absolutely failed, and they just
Oh
kept
no,
going back to that, and back to that, and back to that. So it's like, okay, you explained it once, the, and you failed. Great, move
let's
on,
move on.
move
Yeah.
on to something else. Show me how it works, I think that it would have worked that way. But no, they kept going back trying to explain it, and it's like they knew they were failing at it, and they tried to keep coming back to it. But eventually, once they stopped trying to explain it, and then they showed it, then it was on this tractor wheels, and it was freaking really going, man. So
Good, good.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, so Sony, which is on fire right now with some of the Tom Holland movies and the Cross the Spider Verse movies. Not so much
Yeah.
with the Morbius stuff. It's got two new Marvels slated for 2024 and 2025. Um, Untitled right now.
One of those is going to be Venom 3, right? Or is
We don't know. We don't know. I mean, previously we thought it was going to be the El Muerto, Bad Bunny movie. Um, and we know, hey, there's the Venom movie. See, I wouldn't if they were to say Venom Untitled, that's probably would have made more sense. But then for them to go Untitled Marvel, Sunny Marvel, I don't really understand that. Um, but in the meantime, we've got all these other movies that are also changing around their dates, such as Thunderbolts has moved to December 20th, 2024. Blade moved to February 14th, 2025, and Fantastic Four may sync up 2025 as well, with delays for Avengers King Dynasty and Secret Wars till 2026, possibly 2027. Now, we know the reason why a lot of these are delayed is because of the writer strike right now.
right, right.
Nobody's nobody's budging right now. So maybe this is good, right? Because people were getting some type of you know fatigue of watching all the stuff back to back to back.
Can I
So
ask you something? Is this an
yeah.
official list here? Because there are some things on here that I haven't seen. What's
Uh,
what's the mutants
that
and
I'm not
what's
sure.
Scarlet Witch? That's and then Young Avengers, Eternals
So
Beyond.
Young
Are you actually
Avengers was
giving them a sequel? They're not getting.
Young Avengers was definitely supposed to be
Did you
definitely
just rip
happening.
this off the net?
Yeah, just rip this off the net.
This is
So
unrealistic.
mutants. Mutants. I'm not sure, but there is supposed to be that X-Men project that is supposed to be happening.
But not
Um,
next year.
yeah, I don't know. Midnight Suns. That was already a. So some of these might actually be video games. 'Cause Midnight Suns is actually a video game. That's
Yeah.
out right now. So they're supposed to be reprepping that. Shang-Chi is definitely happening. Scarlet Witch. You know what I don't see on here? I don't see the Agatha
Yeah.
Harkness thing. So that might be
This.
what Scarlet Witch is supposed to be, but it's supposed to be in 2024.
Yeah, and
Young
that Captain
Avengers.
America Forever is actually Captain America Brave New World because they just changed the.
This is an old list. World War Hulk. That's definitely supposed to be happening. Captain Marvel 3. That's actually supposed to be the Marvel. Star Lord. I haven't heard of that thing happening. Illuminati
Yeah,
War. That's not happening. And Eternals Beyond. That is definitely not fucking happening. They trashed that like a while ago. But
yeah, that's.
uh,
We apologize. Don't pay attention to this list,
yeah.
but the premise remains the same. The writer strike has caused in the entire slate of Marvel movies to be shifted around. Most of them backwards, but the one that got moved up was Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3
Right.
is now moving from July of next year to May, right? So it's
Hmm.
got moved up 3 months,
Right.
and then Captain America: Brave New World got moved from May back to July. So those two movies swapped spots, and then everything else got pushed back 3 months. So. And of course, I mean, they might move it back, right? If the writer's strike doesn't resolve itself, then these movies are just going to continue to be
Move
shifted
back.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Unless what I foresee happening is um so here was another big story that popped this week, but then it got deflated, so we're not sure what's happening right now. Is I don't have a thing for it. Um, is the new Agents of Atlas, right? That was supposed to be like the Asian
Yeah.
Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Um, a Korean actress got announced as Lunar Snow, right? They were talking
Hmm.
about, hey, she was going to be. They were in negotiations right now. She was coming to the MCU, and everybody was going crazy for a little while. But then her representation came out, which is YG Entertainment out of Hong Kong and Korea, actually came out and said, "Hey, yeah, this is not true right now. We don't have any type of deal happening right now." So that kind of deflated everything.
Hmm.
The way that Marvel could get around this whole strike is just focus more on Asian content, like focus more on Spider-Man India, focus more on the Avengers Asia, focus on African stories, and just give money to those folks over there where they don't have these laws and have these freaking unions. They already started right with a bunch of the Star Wars manga stuff, right? And people like that stuff. A lot of the
Yeah.
Star Wars manga. I mean, so they've got a way forward to do that. They just got to be willing to spend the money, and I'm all about that right now. So, all right, so we're at
Yeah.
the half-minute mark. You ready to take a break?
Yep. We're going to take a break, and then we will come back and we will talk some comics. But check out this Crisis in the Toy Verse set. right, make sure to check out Crisis in the Toyverse with Bobo. He is the guru of toys. So, and of course, that ad is the best ad we have here, which is why I like watching it. All right, so we're gonna jump into some comic books that came out this week, and yeah, let's jump right into Doctor Strange #4, and this is written by Jed MacKay. Guest artist on issue 4 already is Andy McDonald, with KJ Diaz as colorist, VC's Corey Pettit as letterer, and of course the cover by Alex Ross, if you can't guess. And if you don't like it, blame the editors, Kat Grigorowicz, Noah Sharma, Darren Shan. This book actually is titled Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange only appears in the last panel of the book. So here what we get is the story of the Agents of Wand, which is the Shield's Wizardry, Alchemy, Necromancy Department, which is headed by Wong, along with his partner Pandora Peters, and what they say at the beginning of the book, the freaky Dr. Z, which I think is pretty cool. Now, the whole premise to this book, this was a subplot over the first few issues, and then this is the plot takes center stage here. Is there's a threat that has been going around killing all of the weird ass magic users across Earth, and Wong and his partner Pandora have been tracking down the assassin and trying to put the clues together. And here is really the big issue where they kind of break it open and figure out that that there are a bunch of magic users actually that have gotten killed over the last couple of days, and they don't know who did it. And of course, by the end, Pandora comes down and says, "I think it's clear,"
Mm. Mm.
which makes some sense if you're reading through it. So they've set Clea up to be a big suspect in this. We probably know that that's the red herring, but this has been an actual pretty cool detective story with lots of like magical implications.
Mm.
And we know they're bringing back Shield, so I like the whole Agents of Wand kind of thing. And I love the whole thing, the whole idea of Wong being this mystical badass, which we've never really seen. He's always been kind of like Doctor Strange's servant,
Yeah.
and we see him with this, like, they reveal like he's got this ability to see in all directions at once, and he can kill demons with one punch. And there's a scene where these Asian vampires are trapped in, and they realize that it's Wong, and they're like, oh, hey, sorry. we didn't know it was you. So I actually kind of thought that was it was a cool book, and not really what you expected. I mean, I know Wong really kind of got a level up in the MCU,
Yeah.
right?
Because he
um
was the Sorcerer Supreme, right? Is he still the Sorcerer Supreme, or is he?
yeah, he's the Sorcerer Supreme now. But in here, like, Wong was always just the, would you like some tea kind of character, and here he just is. It's great. I think Jed MacKay over the last few months has really kind of stepped up this reintroduction of Doctor Strange into the Marvel universe. A little disappointed that Doctor Strange isn't really in his own book this month, but I
No, he was. Was he? He was at the end.
he was in the very last panel,
Yeah.
sitting on the couch. But it was good. I liked the book. It's a great, it carries the momentum from the story, so I didn't mind terribly that he wasn't in the book, but that the story moved along. So what did you think of it?
Yeah. So I think it's. I think you hit on some really good points, man. The only thing that I think this book is missing, and you were kind of leading into it for a little bit, is okay. So they're killing off all these bad villains, right? These magical villains. What are the implications of that? So, for
Hmm.
instance, when Doctor Strange died, there was nobody to look over all the curses and the magic that he had been doing, right? Because he woke up in the morning and he was clicking and popping and putting protection stuff all over the stuff. Well, what's the implication of all these evil villain freaking magicians, right, passing away and dying, right? I know because I know they've got to be throwing protections up, right? There's got to be some magic curses they got to be putting
Yeah.
up. So I wouldn't mind seeing that, and then seeing Juan having to go either fix it or go, yep, that's good, and then just freaking and then freaking going about their freaking business. Um, Otherwise, they're just going after. We opened up with that little story or that little image of the ghost going into the mine in Kentucky, right? And they're overseen by these freaking demons. Because I guess they sold their souls or something like that, so now they got to work the freaking mines. That was pretty cool. It was even cooler to see the way Doctor Z works. He's the guy that's reading the books. He's reading in between the lines. He's reading the contracts. He was reading their soul contracts and saying, "Yeah, you know what? This doesn't stand. You probably should unionize." And then they're like, "Oh shit, yeah!" And they freaking build this one big super fucking ghost, and then kill the demons and freaking get them out the way. So that was pretty cool. Um, there's the Wand. I forget what her name is. What is her name? Her name is Pandora Peters. She
Yeah.
starts to talk about this new concept called UXO, which in the military, that's unexploded ordnance. But here they're calling it, what are they calling it? They're calling it ordnance unattended supernatural situations. So that's what they're going after and chasing right now. But okay, it's out there. It's boogie boogie. Like I would. That's where I go back to the. I would need to know more of the implications of what if they just left it alone, right? I need that because Kentucky. There's a lot of land out in Kentucky in the mines where ain't nothing happening. Ain't nobody living out there, right?
Hmm.
Um, so of course the catalyst for this was the uh, Doctor Strange and Clea. They put down the old one, so now this is why they had to go out and do this. Then you were talking about the old Chinese magicians, the Jiangxi, and how they were they were just causing some problems, and they had to be they were actually contained by those old robots, those LMDSs. Um, the dialogue was actually not pretty was actually pretty good. It was Dr. Z. I love this, once again that Dr. Z trying to convince people to do this, and he was the guy that was reading in between the lines on that other stuff. The comedic pauses were pretty good. The them breaking into three, so at some point Dr. Z goes off to do his own thing, and then Wong doing that own thing. Like those are full issues where we should be seeing what's going on with that. So that
Yeah.
should be we should, hey, for my 4.99 or actually it's 3.99. This is what I should be seeing. And then of course the final finale mystery, which is going to bring me back, is like who was actually killing these magicians, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's a good one for where it's at, right? This issue number 4 probably should have been started with issue number 1 on this one, and it's like, all right, let's go. But I think it's pretty damn good. This would actually be a nice TV series, right? If they played it out, right? The
Could be an X Files. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice, man. I don't know if you ever remember the old Friday the 13th series, not affiliated with Jason or anything like that, where that's what they did. They would go around and see, like, trap down freaking these magical objects, and like trap down like who was killing the holders and all that stuff. That's probably what Doctor Strange should be. He should be a TV series where we get more of an eye on what's going on with these magical objects and the way the magic world works. Vice is just a quick one movie, and then now nobody cares about it anymore.
Kind of like a Kolchak the Night Stalker kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds
yeah.
good. Yeah, that would be a good concept. I would love to see like a on Disney Plus, like maybe like a black and white type TV series, like with Doctor Strange kind of doing some weird ass shit.
Yeah, or even some Wong. Give me a Perry Mason type freaking thriller joint, right, where they gotta hunt everything down. That would be awesome.
Sounds good. All right, so let's move on to our next review. We're gonna look at Moon Knight number 24. That's also um, he said Jed McKay's getting a lot of work done over the next few months because he's doing Avengers too.
Right.
So let's see. So Moon Knight, writer is Jed McKay, artist is Federico Sabatini. Colors are Rachel Rosenberg. Letters are VC's Corey Pettit again. And if you don't like it, blame the editors, Martin Biro and Lise Bisa, Tom Brevoort. So this book is actually a dream sequence. Really, the whole issue is this villain Morpheus is mucking around with Mark Spector's mind, trying to give Mark the what he always wanted, what Morpheus thinks he wants. So in the first half of the book, you see Mark having a barbecue and inviting all of his family and friends over, and he realizes halfway through the book that these most of these people are dead already, and why why the heck is going on. And then you see he comes out of it, and he realizes that it's his old friend Morpheus, who has become a villain due to some other some chemicals and etc. And now he's in Mark Spector's head, morphing around with his dreams, and just really kind of affecting what's going on in his and Mark's perception of reality, which to me this works with Moon Knight because his perception of reality has always been tenuous anyway with his multiple personalities. But that's what I think works in this instance, is because he does start to get a little confused over what's going on, because he starts seeing not only his dreams, but he sees Stephen Grant's dreams. And so his alternate personalities are having different dreams. um, so it is kind of a bit psychedelic and a bit kind of left turn, right turn. And of course by the end comes across Morpheus, realizes that Morpheus has been shot and is dying, and Morpheus's dying breaths really is he wants to give Mark Spector some happiness before he goes. And then at the end, he tells him who killed him was Black Spectre, who is another villain that Moon Knight wants revenge on. So that's going to move the storyline along. And probably, I think the next part is the double-sized anniversary spectacular coming next month. But this book has been one of those sleeping giants to me, where it is like stealthy good, kind of like how
Yeah,
we thought about Daredevil a couple of years ago, where it
yeah,
was just like it was sneaky good, like we didn't know how good it was. I think Moon Knight's getting that way. it's
yeah.
it's a
It,
fun
it
read.
right. It just needs a little bit more direction, right? So good shout out when it comes to Daredevil, because Daredevil's magnetic pole point is the Catholic Church, right? And trying to do good while also trying to follow the Catholic Church teaching, and of course he fails every single time. Moon Knight, his magnetic pole is, what's the name of the god, Arushu or whatever freaking name is,
Khonshu. Yeah.
Khonshu, no, yeah, Khonshu, and he has to follow that, while also freaking making sure that stuff actually makes sense, and his inability and failure to do that, and all trauma, has made him split into different freaking personalities, of course, right? So that's been the crux for the last three issues. Now we got this thing with Morpheus and Black Spectre. And I am not a big fan of, hey, it was a dream all along, right? I'm not about that. And then you got this whole big chase within the freaking dream, which is, I forget the name of that movie from a while ago. That was like a dream within a dream within a dream. I was like, oh my goodness. Um, but eventually, I guess the information that they were trying to drop is like, hey, Morpheus was trying to do good, I guess, is he's trying to be a good guy, but at the meantime, he's messing with everybody's mind, which is not so good. So, but now I'll say, okay, at least we got to the point where I know where we're going. Where we're going to find the Black Spectre, right? That's supposed to be the next issue. Here's the problem with that right now. Layla Afalad, she's supposed to be coming out, right? That's supposed to be the next Moon Knight stuff. Is so you remember his wife inside the Moon Knight series? Well, she's getting
Yeah.
her character inside the comic book for the first time in some of the next stuff that's coming out.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and it's like Moon Knight City, City of the Dead, Moon Knight, whatever. Those are the ones that are supposed to be coming out. She's supposed to be in those, right? So I'm not sure why they're trying to start this whole new thing with the Black Spectre when that's what everybody actually cares about, and it's very confusing to me. Like, and I've said this for a while. Marvel does stuff, and then they've got all these different storylines, and then we see these characters in different freaking comic books, and none of them are matching up. And I'm not sure which one am I supposed to prioritize, right? So,
Right?
oh man, so that's a tough thing for me right now. So for me, this is a big waste of my time, right? As good as it is, I'm pretty sure if I was just to read this as a one standby trade paperback, I'm absolutely sure that this would be good, right? In fact I said it before. The past three issues have been all right, pretty good because we got a freaking mystery, and Moon Knight's just. But then you stop the mystery to do this dream sequence. Nah, nah. I'm not feeling that right now. So this is a big down for me. They either freaking stop the storyline altogether, or keep it along the freaking tracks that'll lead me to the Lila Philot. That's where I feel.
Yeah. I always think Moon Knight works the best when you don't really know what's going on as far as like what's real and what's not. So because he doesn't know what's real and what's not. So
Yeah.
um,
I would
that's
be down with that if he was out there, if he could slash the people he didn't know who the heck he was slashing. I'm down with that. But I suffered through all of those. It was all a dream during the Happy Days freaking TV series back in the day. It's like, oh my goodness, the Fonz is dead. Oh no, it was all a dream. Oh well, that sucks. Stuff like that.
all right. All right. So I guess we're a split decision on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump into the next relaunch of Black Panther. So
Well,
can you want to take us through it?
yeah. So let's see. Let me make sure I get the stuff correct. Because the here's the thing. It was kind of interesting when I looked at the comic and I was like, oh, the cover of the comic. I was like, oh, Ewing. Oh my goodness, Al Ewing is writing for Black Panther. Oh my, this is going to be amazing. And then I opened it up. I was like, oh no, it's Eve Ewing. Oh no, this is going to be bad, bad, bad. Then you got Chris Allen on pencils. Chris Allen and Craig Young as inkers. Color artists is going to be Jesus Arbutov. Letterer Joe Sabino. Cover arts, many of them to include Torrin Clark, who did this one right here. Um, and your editor in chief right now was CB Sibileski for this one. So right now the context is that now that the Black Panther, he's not the king, he's not even allowed in his own country right now. He's supposed to be extradited or whatever you call it, to wherever, but he's still hanging out, and he's hanging out in some of the cities that hate him anyways. But he's kind of trying to do the Batman thing where he's kind of like hiding in the shadows, and he's still trying to do good and all this other stuff. But um and he's trying to reveal him bit by bit as he does good, and people still aren't feeling him. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to reveal him to that one guy that's actually doing good, and trying to tie his reputation to that guy, so when he does that, he'll have that one guy that everybody trusts. They'll say, "Yeah, no, no, T'Challa, he's good and everything." Um, and that kind of makes sense as a strategy, right? But in the meantime, that guy, he works in a really bad freaking neighborhood. He works in a really corrupted piece, right? Where what kind of government, they're just not doing good, and there's more corruption than anything, which is interesting, right? Because here's what so once again, here's what I'll say. I've been frustrated with Black Panther for the last couple of volumes because number one, they threw him up in space, right?
Hmm.
And then in the other one, they brought a new character, which was Tosin, and then we haven't really heard from him since. And there's not really a need for him if you're not going to do anything with him. So here we go. Now we're back with T'Challa, and we're back in Africa, Wakanda, but we're not in Africa, right? We once again, we could be in anywhere. We could be in South Detroit. They're trying to hop on the corruption, but they don't. They needed to flesh out what the corruption really means, right? They fleshed out the one dude, that one guy, I forgot the guy's name, um, but they needed to flesh out how the corruption kind of affects Africa, and it's kind of holding Wakanda back from doing better and greater things. If they do that, then when you bring in T'Challa with that lawyer, then that kind of actually makes sense. It feels more African to me than anything else. But they didn't do that. they're just throwing stuff up, and it's very apparent that she doesn't really understand how African countries work and and how it's a thing. So it was kind of frustrating for me. It was like, in fact, there's even one scene where the dude is standing in the middle of an American barbershop looking like Malcolm X.
Thank you. I was going to mention that. That the barbershop seemed to me to be very American, right? I mean,
Hmm.
not African, like
Yeah,
you were talking about.
I've gotten haircuts in Africa. It was in the middle of the street. It was traffic going by.
Well, so that was the one thing to me that, like, I mean, I like the story, but then the visuals really, I mean, they went through great pains to make this city in Wakanda look like Gotham City. I think, like with
Hmm.
the because there's a lot of neon, a lot of height, like a lot of tall buildings, a lot of clutter, a lot of like clotheslines in between alleys. I'm like, I don't really think of there was a lot of places in Wakanda that were that developed. I thought like Wakanda, even the city of Wakanda, was kind of low to the ground. You know, it
It
wasn't
was.
it wasn't climbing up to skyscraper type stuff. But this actually looked like the concrete jungle. Really, you know, it was totally a different look for me for Wakanda, even though this is a totally different part of Wakanda in a city that they've never mentioned before. So this is like a new area. But for me, I think and of course you said they made Black Panther look like Batman on this, and I'm sure that's the intention, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
intention is to give Black Panther a lot of like crevices to hide in and places to kind of be be Batmanish. Um, but that, yeah, to me, I don't know where the series is going, what they're trying to do. I know that it's like the Fallen King. Do you like the changes to his costume?
I could care less.
Okay,
I could care less. There's nothing specifically that was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And there's a reason. I'm a utilitarian. I'm a utilitarian, like where each piece for me has got to have a reason for it, right? And I didn't see the reasons for it. Any like the little knives, like on the front cover, you see like the little knives and everything. But then when you get into the actual thing, there's all types of stuff that he didn't freaking need, like the capes. He didn't need the striation lines and everything. He didn't need the color. Here's the deal. If you're trying to camouflage yourself and trying to kind of hide into the freaking night, the last thing you want is something big, bright, and white. All right, you want to
right.
have everything freaking black. You don't want to have any type of colors. And what do they have on this dude? They had them all in freaking colors, man. So it was like, uh, I don't know. But
All right.
I'm not gonna trip over rat turds on this one. But the other stuff, they definitely need a fix. So
All right.
uh,
Well, that'll do it for our reviews. What do we got coming up for our 2 minute warning? You
okay.
have 6 minutes
Well,
to.
6 minutes. Okay. Well, I'll take 43 seconds of that to play this Void Rivals commercial. Real quick. Stand by.
Hey, comic book fans, I'm Robert Kirkman, and I'm telling you the best comic book fans shop at Bungie's Comics in Griffin, Georgia. If you love great comics, you're going to want Void Rival.
Uh-oh, wrong one. What the freak?
Huh,
That
what was
sucks.
that?
Uh, yeah. So they sent us a thing for Comic Crusaders. I'll download that later on. But all right, let's get into. Let me make sure we get into. Let me load that up. See, yeah, because it was kind of funny when when we were messing around with it. Because I brought it up to show Al because I was very proud of it, and it was like, "Hey, this freaking Bungie, freaking hooyah!" I was like, "The fuck out of here!" All right, so as far as what's on FOC this week, first one I got up here is Big Spider-Man number 31. It's a 150 by Greg Land, not a quite a J. Scott Campbell special, but it's okay. Her face is kind of distorted, not quite
Eh,
appealing, but especially for a 150, like I don't know.
eh.
Then there's a Amazing Spider-Man JTC Nicholas Space variants. There's a we don't have quite the art cover, the art for it yet, but there we go.
Why is it
Um,
classified?
Black Panther number 2, 125 by Salvador LaRocca. There is for some reason he has the English crown on his head, but all right, y'all do you. Mike Mayhew with a Nicholas Space cover. Dan Blade number 1 has a 1 in 100 by Frank Miller, Virgin. Then 1 in 50 by Peach Momoko. John Tyler Christopher Negative Space variant.
That's actually pretty good.
Second print 1 in 25. Caitlin Gu for a Deadpool Better Blood #1. That was the first appearance of Shatterstorm. Then on #2, she gets her own cover. Extreme Venomverse #5, Peach Momoko variant. That's Jeff with looks like he's been taken over by the Venom. And then on #5, Sergio the Villa Symbiote. Looks like a kaiju robot going against Venom. Loki #1 has a second print, 1 in 25 by Rod Reese.
Hmm.
I love this one. It's out of all the Shadow Clone #5s. This one is by Greg Land again, 1/100, but it's her as the Vulture.
Yeah, I like that cover.
Second print, Steven Segovia. If you look closely, you'll see that he has two red sabers, where on the first print he had one red and one green.
Hmm.
And then Dark Droids #1, Kasepi Kamankoli foil. It's got C3PO, excuse me, not C3PO, RTD2. Then on the JTC action figure, you got C3PO. And then on the Stott Scourge variant, you got C3PO mainline on the cover with one gold eye and one purple eye. What if Dark Spider Gwen #1, 1/100 roll of space. Wolverine #35, 1/25 by John Jing. Here's the new releases that are coming out this coming Wednesday. Avengers #2, 1/100 George Perez.
That's an old sketch card.
Yep.
Yeah.
Edge of Spider-Verse #3 was again. You've got I forget. She's not called Ghost Spider. I forget what she's called. But this storyline is supposed to have the explanation of Spider Boy and what he is, where he came from, and all that other stuff.
Edge of
And
Spider-Verse does. Oh,
yep,
okay. So we're not going to get the explanation for that in Spider-Man. We're going to get that in Edge
Edge of
of
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
That's silly.
Just got to sell more of these. So Edge of Spider-Verse #3, 1/100 Ramos. And I do believe there is a 200 out there, but it just looks like I don't have it. Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider #2, Ben Harvey. Oh, there it is. The 1/200 Mark Bagley.
Hmm.
And then there's the 1/25 Yagawa. Incredible Hulk #1, Scotty Young is supposed to be returned back to the horror stint that they were successful with 2 years ago. And then they decided to do that weird robot freaking storyline. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I guess it doesn't work. Let's go back to being scary.
Well, that cover doesn't look scary. Just saying.
Yes, Scotty Young. There's your 1/100 Gleason Elemental. There's your Miles Morales Spider-Man #7, 1/25. Kamikoli, Auditory Bondage and Tentacles, of course.
That Carnage storyline right now stinks.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's weird. It's I don't think this, if you plotted it out, it's not bad, but it's the dialogue that stinks, the explanations that stink. That's kind
Yeah.
of weird. Silk #1 with Silk torturing Tinkerbell on the cover.
Is she torturing her?
She's got her in the spider web, or well, it all depends on what you think Spider Tinkerbell is doing, man, because she's got got that
Maybe a
head arched back.
bondage
So
issue.
yeah, it's Momoko. So
Yeah.
Star Wars Bounty Hunters #35, Lee Dirge. Then there's 1/100 for Ultimate Invasion, Momoko.
Is that Tinkerbell or Wasp?
Wasp.
I know. It's just joking.
Yeah. Well, her sitting on top of that buttercup like that, could be. Right? Maybe it looks like Momoko was kind of, you know, just addicted to Tinkerbell stuff for a little while. Then there's your Christopher Negative Space variant order. And then that, sir, was the end of it. And then let me see. I think I got it, the right one downloaded. So let's go.
I'm Robert Kirkman, and I couldn't be more thrilled to see you shopping at Comic Crusaders. If you love great comics, you're going to want Void Rivals Issue 1 available now. Void Rivals launches the Energon universe featuring Transformers, G.I. Joe, and all new characters interacting in a new shared universe. You're going to love the surprises we've got planned for all your favorites in these new series from Skybound and Hasbro. Thank you for checking out Void Rivals, and make sure you come back here to get your new comics every week.
All right, that was it.
Wow, we got Robert Kirkman showing Comic Crusaders. Nice.
Yes, sir. Got it done. So
Nice.
here we are.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for No Price Podcast this week. Please be sure to check us out in 2 weeks. And you know what we'll be talking about in 2 weeks? Secret Invasion.
Ah.
Yeah, Secret Invasion starts this week. So we'll have a couple of episodes to talk about by the time we meet again.
Wait, so is that a movie or is it a TV series? Is it a TV
It's a
series?
TV show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Disney
Okay.
Plus, little Nick Fury action, Samuel Jackson, some other stuff going on. We'll see. Looks
Nice.
exciting.
Okay.
All right. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks and we will see you then. Until then, be safe.